Hello, and welcome to the Veterans Voice. My name is Joe Armstrong. I'm the president of Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 1044, located in Sanford, Maine, and I'll be your host for today's show. On our last show, we discussed what a veteran service officer was, what you can and should expect from him or her. We also discussed several tips about filing a claim. Now that you've filed your claim, what do? I want to tell you about 12 things called the Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen is a recommended list of what to do, and more importantly, what not to do when dealing with your claim. If you take the time to follow and then heed the recommendations that we make, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and stress. Don't call the toll-free number. Don't email the VA regional office. Do not, under any circumstances, communicate with the regional office except by certified mail and return receipt requested. And I'll explain a little more about that later. If you break these rules, you're sure to get the wrong information. When you call or email, you aren't contacting the VA regional office, you're contacting a call center. They'll tell you anything to get you off the phone. If you insist, try calling 3 times, ask the same question. Chances are you'll get 3 different answers. Know who is representing you. This is very important. Every day, emails are received stating the VA representative called me to tell me I was going to receive 80% of my award. The question remains, who is the VA representative and what is his or her title and who do they work for? The answer is always the same. Oh, I thought he was a VA representative. He works for the VFW. I'm not sure what his last name is, but I think his name is Bob. I think. I've seen him around for a long time. You hand over the future of one of the most important legal moves you'll ever make, where the stakes are counted in the thousands of dollars, and you aren't sure who the person works for, or even his complete name. Think about this for a minute. Before you go out and buy a new washer and dryer, you'll scout the ads in the papers, you'll do research on the internet, you'll go to Sears, Best Buy, Home Depot, and you'll spend hours making a decision that will cost around $1,000. On the other hand, you'll walk into any office that looks official, sign over a power of attorney, complete financial paperwork that expresses your weaknesses to the world, and walk away not knowing what to expect or when to expect it. If you'll spend as much time thinking about your claim or who that representative works for as you did the washer and dryer that you just had to have, you'll be a lot happier down the road. Be patient. Your application for benefits will follow a process. If you've done your part, that paper you submitted is going to slowly wind its way through the first step in the process, then the next, and the next, through 100 steps that must be accomplished before it's adjudicated. Whether you think all this is necessary or not, doesn't matter. It's the process that counts, and you need to accept that very early in the game. Once you have submitted your paperwork, and you're confident that you've given the VA all the evidence there is, you're done. There's nothing else you can do but wait. Calling the VA to ask where your folder is a waste of time. Don't write any more letters to the VA. Don't call your service officer to ask if he or she heard anything about your claim. Chances are they haven't. Read a book, build a model airplane. Do anything at all but think about your claim. Your claim will be adjudicated when it's adjudicated and not a minute before. You have to live with that. Don't ever, and I can't overstress this, don't ever display anger to a VA employee. Yeah, okay, we're all upset. Every last veteran I know can feel their blood boiling at the mention of how the VA treats those it's supposed to serve. If you show your anger side to the VA employee by yelling, expressing your displeasure at waiting, slamming your fist down on a desk, cursing, storming out of the room and slamming the door, or making a direct or veiled threat, you have created trouble for yourself and all those that follow behind you. Most but not all VA employees at the clinics, hospitals, and region offices want to help you. They're usually every bit as frustrated as you are at the bureaucracy they work for. They have the same problems of paying bills, raising teenagers, flat tires, headaches that we have. Many of them are veterans themselves. Many others weren't born yet when you were injured. The bureaucracy wasn't intentionally made tougher for you by the 23-year-old student intern sitting across from you. Before you interact with the VA employee, in person, on the phone, or by a letter, take a deep breath and let the anger go. The amount of courtesy, respect, and smiles you give is directly correlated to what you will receive. Otherwise, you may find that your record is flagged to warn others about your erratic, threatening behavior. And if you think you have problems now with getting the things done, you haven't seen anything yet. Think before you open your mouth. You'll be glad you did. And the rest of us that come behind you will appreciate it as well. A well-written letter is your best friend. I hear it every day. A veteran will send an email that begins, "The VA lowered my benefits because I didn't show up for an exam. I didn't know I had an exam scheduled. They say they sent me a letter, but the idiots mailed it to my old address. I changed my address by telling my VSO, Veteran Service Officer, and I also called the VA toll-free number. I emailed them also. Now what do? Now you have to get the train back on the tracks. When you moved and changed your mailing address, it appears you told everyone but the VA regional office that handles your folder. Neither the toll-free number nor the IRIS email system is at your regional office. Your Veteran Service Officer can't be expected to run errands for you. If you had written a letter, mailed it to the correct address, and used certified mail with return receipt requested, and kept the receipt along with a copy of the letter, the letter, it is very likely that the address change would have happened just as it should have. If it didn't, you have good evidence that you did your part correctly and timely. Without the little green postcard, you get nothing. Now, when you do something certified return request, you will get a receipt. You'll get two receipts. The small one is your certified proof. They'll also give you a green card that is attached to the envelope. Once somebody receives your envelope, they have to sign for that envelope. That envelope is then returned to you. There's your proof that the VA received your letter or evidence. This applies to every action you take with the VA. Anytime you want the VA to accomplish anything for you, you must put it in writing, and you must be precise in telling them exactly what it is you want. When you put your request in writing, you've just created a piece of evidence that can be held in the hands and reviewed by another person months or years down the road. It's real, it's solid, and if it disappears from your folder, you have a backup copy and that little green postcard to prove that it was delivered. A telephone call is a faint memory. The moment the connection is broken, the email may roll up and off the screen, out of sight and out of mind. Emails are often purged, whether by accident or intentionally. Your letter and your copy of that letter are the most powerful tools you have. A single letter that is brief and tells the reader just exactly what you want is more potent than 100 phone calls. Don't call your congressperson or a senator. A lot of emails are received telling how the veteran got frustrated at the delay, so they decided that the senator would storm the walls of the VA for them and tell those bad people to straighten up and fly right. Most of these emails end up by saying that months later, they received a form letter telling them that the VA is still working on their claim, and that ends it. Your elected representative in Washington makes laws. They don't enforce them. Each of them maintains a number of very busy offices staffed by a dozen or more people. In that mix are military and veterans liaisons, or an individual with a similar title and responsibility. When you write a call to complain about the VA and your claim, your call is routed to that person. He or she will ask you to complete documents that will allow them to view your folder. Privacy issues must be addressed as you have medical records there. They then send a congressional inquiry to your VARO, your Veterans Area Regional Office. The VARO maintains a record of the people to respond to such inquiries in about 45 days. Your folder is located, pulled out of line, and examined for any particular glitches or errors. Then it may be sent to the representative's liaison for a review. If the folder and your applications are merely going through the usual routine, the usual routine of numbingly slow process, that's what you'll hear. If there is missing evidence and the VA can't find the records or something is lost, they'll assure the representative that they're doing all they can, and that message will be passed on to you. Your congressperson or senator won't be aware that you've done any of this with their office. They each have hundreds of these inquiries every year. Almost every one of these inquiries are initiated by a veteran displaying impatience. Often enough, the impatience is rooted in ignorance. The veteran does not understand the process, and nobody told them that their claim may take as long as 18 months. Some requests and complaints are filed with these offices because the veteran is in dire financial straits and is depending on the compensation benefits to save the day. The wolves are at the door, the car is being repossessed, the credit cards are maxed out, and the veteran needs the money right now. This is probably the worst reason to call, as an inquiry may cause even more delays. Your folder could have been the next in line to be distributed to the desk of the Rating Veteran Service Representative, the RVSR, and you caused it to be pulled out of its place in line. Chances are, after they look at it, it will not be placed in the same order that it was taken out of. Don't ask advice from everyone you meet. Once you begin the journey to that compensation benefits award, you should soon develop a plan and stick with it. An integral part of the plan is where you'll get your guidance from. Have you decided to use a veteran service officer who you can trust? Are you going to do it yourself? We do not recommend that. Are you in an appeal and you signed an agreement with a lawyer? Whatever path you choose, stick with it. There's no one perfect answer to any of the thousands of questions that may come up during the course of your claim. Different people will have different experiences, and those experiences will shape the way they will advise you to handle your claim. I'm often contacted by a veteran who will tell me, for example, that his veteran service officer has advised him that he should not submit another claim for a new condition until the existing claim is finished. The veteran will ask my opinion. Most of the time I'll agree with that advice as long as it's not completely out in left field. A day or two later, the veteran will write back and tell me that he checked with a friend, the one with the wealth of experience with the VA claims, and he has a different idea about it all. He now wants my opinion on what his friend had to say. I'm a bit more cautious in my answer because I can see where this is going. Sure enough, I'll usually get a set of emails from the veteran, and he will have his contacted his congressman, looking at other websites, and sometimes even called the VA toll-free number. This happens in appeals also. The veteran speaks with a lawyer who agrees to take him on as a client. Papers are signed, and the lawyer begins the process by notifying the VA of a new power of attorney and requesting a copy of the folder. 6 months pass and the veteran hasn't heard anything, so he calls the lawyer to discover that the Veterans Administration Regional Office only delivered the copy of his folder 2 weeks ago. the veteran once again starts looking for advice elsewhere, and the result is always the same. The veteran is lost, confused, and unsure of what to do next. Changing representation in the middle of a process may be one of the worst actions a veteran can take, unless there's good cause. That the claim is taking too long, or the lawyer isn't calling you every week to tell you nothing has happened, is not good cause. You should only change your power of attorney in circumstances where you've discovered and can prove incompetence. Your representative is on an extended leave, or the representative dies. Even then, you'll want to give a lot of thought to upsetting the flow of progress. As slow as it may be, it's perfectly reasonable to believe that it's better to allow the claim to proceed to denial than to try to make a course correction during the process. There is good reason for that old saying, too many cooks spoil the broth. When you make a decision to file a claim, give it a lot of thought as to how you're going to proceed, and choose your representative carefully. If you've done your homework up front, when you hit those bumps and delays that will come with working with the VA, you'll remain confident that it's just routine and you'll be happier for it. Prepare for the worst. Approach your claim as if it's already determined that you'll lose and have a lengthy appeal. There are no reliable, precise statistics that allow us to predict which claims will be approved or the ones that are doomed to fail. We know that even when you submit a perfect claim with perfect evidence, there's a good chance that you'll be tied up for a year or more and then receive a denial letter. When you get that denial, you'll be stunned as you read along. In the required explanation from the VA, you'll see that it's almost as if not one single person actually read your evidence and/or they just ignored it all. The language they use might make you think that they're speaking in somebody else's claim, not yours. You may read incomplete sentences, pages that don't seem to connect from one to the next, or the date on your letter may be days, weeks, and even months previous to the day of your documents. The truth is that it's entirely possible that your complete folder was never examined at all of all the evidence. It's possible that evidence you delivered wasn't ever matched to your file. It's not rare for papers from one file to be accidentally included in another file. And your denial may be based on a single page of a report from another veteran's medical record. If you are already in need of financial help that you deserve when you take the first step towards compensation, you must begin to develop your budget as if you aren't ever going to hear any help from the VA. Read the fine print. Each time the VA writes to you, you'll find a page that applies to your claim and a number of pages of boilerplate instructions regarding your rights to appeal and other matters. The most important detail you'll find is that of timing. The VA is obsessed with timing, yours, not theirs. That fine print will tell you that if you wish to halt the apportionment of money your ex is trying to withhold from your compensation, you must take certain actions within 30 to 60 days. If you timely reply, you can request a personal hearing that can halt proceedings for months while the VA makes room in its schedule for you. This can give you valuable time to gather evidence or get evidence on how to fight a proposed negative action by the VA. Reading those pages of legalese will provide the veteran with almost never-ending routes of appeals, hearings, and opportunities to prevent decisions from going against us or to reverse decisions that are not favorable. Using the law to enforce your rights is smart. Getting smart beats getting angry every time. Learn how to use a computer. I know it sounds simple, but some people are really intimidated. It's often said that filing an application for a disability compensation is not a spectator sport. It's time for you to get in the game. Hardly a day goes by that I don't get an email from a veteran who asks, who do I call to get a form for disability compensation? Or, what are the rates the VA will pay if I have a rating increase from 20 to 50%? Or I even get a comment that says, why won't the VA put a web page that tells us about benefits for our dependents? I confess that I have moments where I stare at these emails in amazement and wonder. I wonder, how can a person who manages to log on and use email not know about the phenomenon known as the Google search engine? Retrieve and then organize your own documents and evidence. It happens every day. I open my email to read. I've been treated by a number of civilian doctors ever since my honorable discharge. I gave the VA the names, and I thought they were going to get these records for me. Well, they didn't, and my application has been denied. Isn't the VA required to assist me and help me get my records? Can I sue them for the harm they caused me? Yes, the VA does have a duty to assist you. The obligation to help you includes a reasonable effort to track down records and to notify you of your rights. The word you want to pay attention to is reasonable. If 10 years have passed since you were treated at the infamous Our Lady of Pain and Suffering Medical Center, located in beautiful Dog's Breath, Georgia, and you want those records, you better work on getting them yourself. The first mistake I often see is that the veteran provides the name of the hospital and the city, but no street address or telephone number. The VBA, Veteran Service Representative, who is trying to gather your records, is under no particular obligation to go rummaging through a directory to look that up for you. The service rep may fire off a letter in the direction of the hospital and include a copy of your release, but that is never any guarantee they're going to respond. He or she may even try again. After that, it's your problem, not theirs. Many hospitals today have medical records outsourced to a vendor in another city or state. If the VA writes the hospital asking for your records, they may get a message to contact the vendor. In turn, that vendor could require a stiff fee to research and copy records. Yes, they can do that, and more than not, they often do. The vendor may require a photocopy of your driver's license or other identification for security. Their rules require all of that, and then they must send the records back to the hospital, where the hospital releases them to you or the VA. Upon encountering these barricades, the service rep and your Veterans Administration regional office will note their attempt and move on without the important records. If you were treated by a handful of different physicians over the years, practices may have changed. Doctors may have moved on. If you were treated by Dr. Quackenbush 9 years ago and his notes will prove your disability, you got problems. Especially if he gave up medicine and is now a ukulele player in the South Seas Band. Your file may be in storage. It could be that the entire practice moved to another building, or that practice, including your chart, was sold to another group of doctors. The service rep may send a letter or might even make a phone call on your behalf. If that isn't productive, he or she will move on. In the circumstances above, had you taken the initiative yourself, you may have been able to track down your record. Yes, it may have taken you 30 phone calls and days of frustration, but if you are persistent and you find the right person, the one with the keys to the storage facilities, you may get that single piece of paper that wins your case. I know it's a lot to digest right now, so if you'd like a printed copy of what we discuss here or what we discuss on any shows, please send an email to me at president@vva1044maine.org. Include your mailing address, and I will make sure you get a copy. On our next show, we will discuss what PTSD is and what to do when filing a PTS claim, as well as the 5 misconceptions about PTSD. Thank you for watching The Veteran's Voice. I'm Joe Armstrong. Until the next time, don't give up the good fight. Thank you.